Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to a very special day where we go over something that I have been waiting for, well, 20 years. 20, I know I don't seem that old. I'm actually 36 years old, and this game came out around the same time that I was, well, 15, 16, which makes me 36. But man, I'm so excited about this. So what I want to do today is we're going to watch a couple little trailers here. First, we're going to watch the presentation from the BlizzCon. And then we're going to watch another presentation, which is about 45 minutes long. And then we're going to talk about it because I may interject here and there as well. I mean, if you want to watch the full version without my babbling brook of a mouth, you can you can do that on your own. But if you're here and you're excited about Diablo 2 and you're like me and you're one of the people who's played it from day one and who had so much fun when they finally released the set armor bonuses and when they finally put in the really cool legendary items and all the other things, and when Lord of Destruction came out and you had fun killing Baal over and over again, if you are one of those guys, then maybe you want to hang around and see what I have to say, because I love Diablo and I'm excited. So, without further ado, let's watch the trailer.
How was it not yours, a wanderer? Now you know what I seek, Marius. Were these the demons from... Don't do it! It seems you are there. I'm not exempt of that. Arise, Diablo, Lord of Terror. Though this be our darkest hour, it may yet be your greatest moment.
PC Tech Alpha? Yo, sign me up, brother. All right, so before he gets started in his monologue, I would like to go over a few things. So let's see, what was that, 150 in the video? PC Tech Alpha. I'm getting in it. I'm getting in on this. I don't care. I'm gonna find a way. I will bribe somebody, whatever I got to do. I'm a 20-year veteran of this game, and I want to play it. That's what I want. I've played this game literally on and off for 20 years. I'm not even joking. Like, there would be years I would just pick up the game and I would just be like, you know what? I want to play some Diablo again, and I would get it to work on my Windows 10 PC, and I would play for hours and hours and hours, and just different characters, necromancers, paladins, barbarians, sorcerers, whatever I wanted to play around with that particular day, whatever build I wanted to make. I've got to get my hands on this. All right, so let's look at some of this. So they do these little cool little things where they flip over the graphics, which I think is really cool. So let's go back. And okay, so here we go. We have a scene of a necromancer. You notice how everything is very pixelated. This is the original graphics from Diablo 2. So now they're going to flip it to the new graphics. So notice how you can kind of barely make out the character. I mean, he does have that really cool bone shield, and he's got the bone armor on, so he's rocking the necromancer vibe. You know what I mean? And let's see him flip it over. I want to see him flip it over. All right, so here we go. We got the druid. He's inside of the first act. He's fighting the little Rakanishu monsters, and here we go. We're flipping it, and that is just beautiful. That is beautiful. Oh man, see they kept it the same, and I really like that. But they upgraded the graphics. They took away the pixelatedness. They fixed the sprites and they made them look better. Like here's Tyrael here. You know, you see his little wispy little wings, and they're all pixelated, and you can obviously tell that they kind of look bad. And the translucence of the wings and whatnot isn't quite the best. And they got an assassin here in front of Tyrael, and bam! Now look at Tyrael, man, he's just badass. Oh yes. And then we got a sorceress here fighting. I'm pretty sure that's the area where that Blood Raven girl is. And now she's got her max abilities. Is that the new Spark Lightning? Because that's cool. So here we've got the characters. The druid, he looks really cool. Like I really like the way they went with his like long hair, sort of long beard aspect. They really kind of gave him like a man of the earth, like a mountain man kind of look. I think that's cool. The sorceress, she still looks very similar to how she did. And the paladin, he's very similar to how he was. I really like how they did the necromancer. The Amazon, I'm not really sure. I think they kind of messed the Amazon up a little bit there. Unless that's a helmet. If that's a helmet, then I guess that's fine. But her hair looks really weird. Oh man. He's got his bone armor up. That is so cool. I like the bone armor. And the druid, of course, if you've never played the druid has a lot of very cool abilities. He has the werewolf form, which is more of an attack form. He has a druid, like a bear form, which is like a tank bear. Really cool. So you just have like massive amounts of defensives, and you're this big bear. You're just running around smashing everything. And then he also has an elemental side, so he can summon like volcanoes and earthquakes and like make fissures in the ground, and he can make like a tornado and like a hurricane. That's pretty cool. And then this is my boy. This is the Paladin. Now, the Paladin was an amazing character and very, very team-orientated character because he had so many different auras, and the auras could affect your teammates in such wild and various ways. One of my favorite auras was concentration and also fanaticism. Fanaticism and concentration were very similar, but they had differing effects. And if you had two Paladins, one could run concentration and one could run fanaticism, and it was amazing. All right, so let's see what my boy has to say here.
After more than 20 years, the Dark Wanderer has returned. And once again, he travels east. Always east. Diablo II is a landmark game for Blizzard. Diablo II Resurrected is a full HD remaster of both the original game and the expansion, Lord of Destruction. It takes the 2D sprite-based classic that we love and brings it into the present in 3D, utilizing up-to-date graphical rendering and lighting technologies. It also includes modernizing all 27 minutes of cinematics, recreated shot for shot with the explicit intention of preserving both the look and the pacing of the original movies. Blizzard has a long history of games that we're proud of. And when we think about Diablo II, we think about it as a definitive pillar in our foundation. Now, it's funny to think that some of you weren't even born when D2 was released, which makes it all the more important that we deliver an authentic experience wherever you play.
Exactly. because I'm gonna be honest with you. There are people out there who've never played Diablo 2 in all its glory, and granted, it's so graphically bad nowadays that when a new person picks up the game, they're like, "Oh, well, this sucks." But give it a chance. Now that they're upgrading the graphics, now that they're going 1080p, now they got all the sprites fixed, it's still going to be the same amazing. I hope it's the same amazing game. It's still going to be the same amazing game, but with upgraded graphics, and they keep the sound the same. Oh my God, those sounds.
We want everyone to relive their memories or experience the game for the very first time on their platform of choice. And so we're excited to bring Diablo II Resurrected to PC and console, along with cross progression. And for those of you who are in love with the original and you just wish it worked more seamlessly on modern computers, you can bring back all of that nostalgia exactly as you remember and enjoy the game in its original 2D form, much like we did with StarCraft Remastered. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about. Later today, Diablo speedrunner Mr. Llama will host a roundtable with members of the development team on the dedicated Diablo channel. If you are a Diablo 2 fan, I encourage you to take a look.
So they also have a video here, the BlizzCon Diablo 2 Resurrected deep dive, and I really want to go through that. But I made a mistake here when I turned on this live stream. Give me just a second to fix it here. But while I'm doing that, let's talk about some stuff real quick. So I just want to change this to Diablo 2 Resurrected. Coming 2021. And let's go down here, and we need to create a quick thumbnail. 2 Resurrected. Be quiet, Daniel. That's right. Where was the logo? That's what I want to put up here for the trailer picture. Y'all laughing at me, but people love seeing this stuff. There are a lot of Diablo 2 people out there, a lot of Diablo 2 fans. We've been waiting on a remake of this game for so long. I honestly think look at my face there though. That's gonna be it. Let's do it. Diablo 2 Resurrected. There. Done. Continue. Publish. Okay. I have a little thumbnail generator. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing that. New playlist, Diablo 2 Resurrected. This one's going to be full. I tell you what, I'm going to be playing this game a lot. So you guys better hop in on there. If you don't want to see me playing Ginger Game, if you don't want to see me playing Diablo 2 Resurrected, you might want to unsubscribe. Because I'm going to be playing it a lot. A lot. No. So, first off, one of the things that he said, cross-play progression. Now, that is an amazing thing because I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy a PC version and I'm going to buy a Nintendo Switch version. That way I can play on the go and also, obviously play on the PC, which is where it was meant to be played. But playing on the Nintendo Switch and on the PC back and forth is very attractive in general. Deep dive. All right, so we need to put one little doodad in here. Diablo 2, and then we're also going to do Diablo 2 Resurrected. Sweet. And then we need to change the game down here. Of course, it might not even be on the list yet. But it will be. But you know what we can do? We can just choose Diablo 2 for now. Because even though it's not on the list, it'll be fine. Okay, and then we're going to refresh this. And hopefully my tags will update. Haha, tags. So, like I said, I'm super excited about this. I hope you guys are super excited. Because if you're here and you're watching my video, then you should be super excited. Because Diablo 2 is an amazing game. And I'm just going to throw a bunch of tags in here for right now. I might fix these later. I don't want to kill all you guys' attention spans. Alright, that's good enough. Alright, so let's go back and let's take a look at this deep dive video. I really want to see what they have to say. I'm super excited about this.
All right, we're gonna watch the video sent to us.
Now you know what I seek, Marius. Are these the demons from my...
Wait, we got Kane back? Oh, it's 2. It's 2. It's Diablo 2 remastered. It's Diablo 2 remastered. Come on.
Lord of Terror.
Come on. Show it to me.
20 years ago.
Will this be our darkest hours? It may yet
There we
be
go.
your greatest moment.
I knew it was there somewhere. Somewhere out there I knew. Somewhere out there.
Yes!
Yo, sick. Ooh, love the campfire. Oh, that multi-shot looks awesome. Wow. Yo. And console. Okay. All right. That'll be interesting. Oh, that leap attack was awesome.
Werewolf!
Oh. Oh, the Diablo fight is gorgeous.
Death can
Oh, resurrected. Let's go. Come on. So that was super exciting. I'm Mr. LMSC. I am a Twitch streamer. I have been playing Diablo 2 for 20 years, streaming it for 6 years. I probably have over 25,000 hours in this game and just absolutely love it. So seeing the remaster happen, I have to just, of course, ask a very first high-level question. Why the D2 remaster right now?
Well, Diablo 2 is a very special game to Blizzard, as many of you well know, and Diablo 2 also had its 20th year anniversary. So with that, we really wanted to stay true to what that authentic experience was for Diablo 2 and bring it to the current audience and improve it for the existing audience and invite new people to experience it for the first time. It's also good learning opportunities too for us, especially when we're partnering up with Vicarious Visions now to work on a remaster projects like this together.
So it's been a great partnership. We've actually worked with Blizzard for a while now, a couple years, even starting with some Battlenet integration type things. We just finished Tony Hawk Remaster. Before that, we did Crash Bandicoot Remaster, and it just seemed like a perfect match for us to work together.
It was a shock to my system to first to come in and then see that it's a remaster trailer. Was not expecting that. But then to see the complete shift in the design and the art and everything. And I'd really love to hear more about how you came up with the process for how you want to remaster the look of it, right? How you wanted it to visually exist and I'd love to bring in Chris Amaral to talk about some of that. Chris, can you discuss a little bit of the philosophy and the design decisions around this remaster?
So luckily we had a ton of good inspiration from the original D2 art. Our primary focus is always nostalgia, right? We want to make sure we focus on getting this right and deliver an authentic experience that players remembered from 20 years ago. Every choice we make with the art, with the models, with the environments should really ignite that nostalgia and then reinforce that emotional connection from the original game. But then we came up with a 70-30 visual guide. 70% is basically the classic. This is where we don't touch. We don't touch what works, right? We want to maintain those iconic shapes, colors, tones. Everything should be one-to-one and faithful to the original. We want things to feel authentic and preserve those original designs. With the 30% new, that's kind of where we're going to elevate that art. Every change we make should really signify that step forward visually.
I also noticed that the game was 3D, and can you talk a little bit about the discussion or how you moved and some challenges moving from 2D to 3D?
Well, I mean, evolving from a 2D sprite game, like a 2D image game, to a 3D is very challenging. We basically had to write a complete new PBR renderer, so a physically based renderer on top of the old game logic. It's difficult because you're dealing with models versus 2D sprites, where you have to basically write. You have dynamic lighting, you have dynamic VFX. A lot of that is an additional system that we have to work out on our end.
So the follow-up to that question, I suppose, is I wasn't able to see any items when I was watching that trailer. Are all of the items also going to be remastered? All of the gems, all of every single piece of this? And what sorts of flavor did you decide to add to that artwork?
So everything is being redone. So we remodeled everything because everything has to drop in the game. So you have your icon art, and then you have your 3D space art that flips, right? So we had to basically model everything. And as far as the inspiration, we actually were inspired by some original documentation that we found from Blizzard North, where there was a huge Word doc of where the original artists pulled inspiration from. So a lot of that was very historical landmarks, locations, and very very much real world referencing. So that was kind of where we kind of pulled our inspiration as well. We wanted that functional design that the original art had. Everything felt like it was believable, and that detail really does help to give it some realistic context and makes you feel more immersed in the game. It makes you feel like you're part of this world when you can see every little buckle and strap.
I remember when we went into the tavern and there was garlic hanging from a beam, and we're all like, what's the garlic? And this is all full 3D everything, and then they're like, oh yeah, there was garlic in the old game. We go back and it's 4 white sprites, and you're like, holy cow, yeah, garlic, and there's hams hanging and everything. So it was really cool to see it almost for the first time.
And it's funny because original SD, it was made in all 3D. So we actually came across a bunch of screenshots that were a different camera. It wasn't the isometric camera. It was either marketing art or something else, or maybe just exploration. But there was shots of that garlic in the original art. You could never really see it in the pixel art, but it was there. So it was telling that they were really trying to achieve something very very grand with this art.
I'm not gonna lie, I never knew that they had garlic hanging in there. I mean, maybe a couple white sprites. I thought they were maybe candles, or who knows? No clue. But that makes me excited to go look around now and just explore all of the areas in the game, just to look at the new detailed art and see what was.
Well, you see it now too, because also we have the one new feature for the art on the art side of things is a zoom camera. So it'll help you get in there and look at all the details. It was something that I really felt strongly that a lot of ARPGs that come out now all have a zoom feature. So this will really get you up and close and personal with your armor, your weapons, everything, the runes.
Another way to look at it too is our legacy toggle feature, where you can flip back between the old visuals of the game and our current visuals. It's not even just a simple art swap. It is really the old game running underneath, because Chris was mentioning, our new our graphics engine is running on top of the game, and is mimicking what is running underneath. It's still following all the same data and rules and timings of everything. So
Whoa, 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 whoa. So the original game is still there. He's saying that the original game is underneath the surface and that this new game that we're seeing is just an overlay. That means that we're not getting a remake of a game. We're getting the original game with a coat of paint. That means it's going to look amazing, but it's still going to act and behave like the original. That is amazing.
We are still being true to that 25 frames per second of what the game is underneath, but rendering it in a way that has more frames per second.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that specifically, because when I go into Diablo 2, I'm thinking 25 FPS, and like you said, the game is built on that. My faster casting, my hit recovery, all of this stuff is built on 25 FPS. So how do you create a game that's 60 FPS?
So all of the logic and how the game talks with the server and everything like that runs on that cycle, and that hasn't changed. So we still have benchmarks in all of our content, say for animations of when a hit frame occurs, how long it can recover, and all of that. That all matches exactly. Now it can run at a faster frame rate, and so modern games run on time, not frames. So we've done that, but all of the logic still runs on those same things. So you can wait for your breaks to occur. All of those things still happen at the exact same. And that was through no small effort, but it's super important, right? Because even if you can't see it right away, you feel it when it's different. We've done that on lots of areas. So for example, the original game only had so many sprites to render your rotation. So you'd have your character and they're rendered out at so many angles, and the monsters even less. But you could actually walk at greater directions, right? You have, I think it was 64 different squares around you that you would path to, and you'd have feet sliding. We've increased that, so now there's more granularity. Obviously it's 3D, your character can run straight, but underneath the hood, I mean, this is a game made back when the inspiration was tabletop games, and so the game is a grid. So it still respects that grid, right? Like on the controller will still allow you to move small amounts because you push the stick a little bit, but it's still, you're either in a run state or a walk state, stamina's still a thing, you're still on a grid. Like all of that logic, once again, is all being driven by the old game. That hasn't changed.
Rob was mentioning animation. Animation is also like, it was very challenging because you only had a few of the frame counts to basically make that animation. So it wasn't like a modern game where you have tons of different keys to make it very fluid animation. But we had to really like maintain that timing, that pace. The posing was a big focus for us too. We wanted to get those iconic poses for each character, and then just align that silhouette.
So continuing the talk of visuals, I want to talk about characters, cosmetics, how they look. Because I know something that I love with Diablo 2 is just putting on, a scale mail, putting on a full plate mail, putting on a sacred armor, and seeing the character like have the different change and all of that. But some things still don't like reflect over in the color of it or whatnot, right? Some do, some don't. Is there going to be changes there, or is it just enhancing all of those visuals and making them just look even cooler?
So our goal was to basically be one-to-one with parity with the original game. So we built every piece of armor that was in the original game and is now in the
Ooh, look at that armor. It looks so cool on him. Ooh. Man, he's got the charms in there. He's got the books. The chain gloves look on point. He's got the dang skull mole.
remastered version. The only difference we did is with the icon items. So we actually now we have a more connected visual with the icon and the item that drops in the game. Where before you had different visuals. That's really the only thing we pushed on as far as modernization.
Yeah, so like shields or weapons, a lot of the unique items that you find in the game had special kind of icon arts, right? And that is something we're actually going to be showing on your character in the new visuals.
That definitely excites me. I think that's something a lot of people would love to see, a lance guard and have the cool stuff actually on their character there.
There was so many awesome, cool, unique items that had these amazing graphics. And some of them, like a very few of them, you'd put them on and it would have a really cool effect. But there were some of them that was actually disappointing because you didn't get that awesome, cool effect of how it looked in the sprite. That would be so awesome to be able to actually see the item in your inventory and you see how cool it looks, and then you put it on and it actually looks that cool when you put it on your character. That is going to be amazing.
It will be the same model you see on those icons.
Are we going to see remastering of the cinematics in the game?
Yes.
Yes, we are. Yep, the entire full 28 minutes or whatever is going to be all remastered with new high fidelity art. It's going to look amazing, by the way. So,
will the sound in those also be remastered, and any other sound in the game be remastered?
All of the audio has been remastered, as well as we've added additional, surround sound features. There's more ambient. There's more effects going on. It's just a richer experience if you want to play with your, full setup. However, we have to use that measured hand as well with audio. There's just a lot of very, very iconic sounds that we really couldn't change, right? Like if you put a skull into your inventory, that pop noise,
don't change my skull sound.
Exactly, right?
Don't change my skull sound. No.
So there's certain things you're gonna, you'll hear, for like your footsteps running will have some variety. When the rain kicks in, it's gonna have a lot more depth. When you go to the jungle, you'll hear a lot more life in those, trees. But yeah, there's just some sounds we couldn't mess with, right?
With Blizzard, when we're creating new games, one of our design philosophies is to what we call find the fun. And when we were looking at D2 again, we very much felt like the fun is still there. So it's actually one of our core pillars for Diablo II Resurrected specifically, was to keep the fun and keep it at its core. And because
Exactly. The game, there's nothing wrong with D2. D2 doesn't need to be changed. D2 doesn't need to be updated. Diablo 2 just needed a little coat of paint so that the graphics weren't so awful anymore, and that was it. That was all that it needed. Why did I get base code up there?
Because of that, we're looking at it more as a remaster at that point, and like, what can we do based on what the community wants, or what features naturally are necessary for making this game run on modern day systems and things like that.
I think also we want to thank and appreciate the fan base, right? This is really a true nod to the original game. We want to preserve that game and the structure of that game as much as we can. And if we went with the remake, it would be a completely different game. So I think that was the reason why we chose this.
Speaking, from my experience, or from some of my community's experience, and the discussions we've had, we definitely felt like with Diablo 2, a remaster just seemed like the way to go, because there's so many, like you said, there's so many of those tiny details within the game that create, overall, when you add them up, create such a big part of the experience of the game. And remaking that into a new game could be a challenge, and could also be a challenge in keeping the fun of the game in that way. I kind of look at it a little bit like StarCraft Brood War, which also had a remaster, and how it's like a lot of the pathing bugs and the duds from the Reavers and all of these things in the game that were kind of awful are what make the game beautiful and what make the game super balanced. And if you were to go and remake it and remove some of those issues, it would change how the whole entire game plays. And so I felt like with Diablo 2, that's kind of the same idea, right? You got to keep some of those difficult details, because then it ends up creating the overall experience that we all know and love.
Yeah, we also felt that, for a game during its time back in 2000, based on limitations, or everyone was still looking at strategy guides, or just limited internet, it led to that kind of typical game design you see, where there was a lot of mystery, discovery. So we felt like that was another part of part of keeping the fun, which was to maintain that discovery of the game as well.
There's no music playing. I'm just super excited. Like, this is what happens when I get super excited. Like, this game is like my childhood. It's like my whole teen years. Like, literally from like the age of like 15 years old to like 20 something. Like I played this game, and I met girls on freaking Diablo 2. I had relationships on there. I built characters. I had level 99 paladins. I had like 8 accounts because I couldn't have enough characters on Diablo 2. That's how much I freaking love this game.
So, speaking to maintaining and possibly changing, what are the pieces that did end up staying the same? Or, if it's easier to explain the other way, what are the pieces that were really changed to bring this remaster to life?
So, at its core, we want it to still be the same. So, right away, things like the balance, the monsters you see on the spawn rates, item drops, and things like that are the same. And what we're doing is trying to take any of the rough edges you see, compatibility issues, resolution issues, and obviously the art, improving the arts as well. All these kinds of things you come to know from a remaster, but still maintaining very much what the game is. So,
and when it comes to the features we added, this is probably the biggest area where we scrutinize so much is this addition straying too much? You know, does it still create the same gameplay experience and other things like that? So things like a shared stash, we know people use mule characters, right? And so adding a shared stash we felt was the right choice when it came.
Oh my god, I had so many mule characters. And let me tell you something about Diablo 2 that some of you who've never played it may never know. Diablo 2 had an aggressive character deletion policy, and it was awful. Okay, let me explain this to you. If you didn't play your character within 90 days, your account would get put on a little checklist that basically said that this account is inactive. And if you didn't play your character within a certain number of time after that account got the little checklist, they would just delete your character. And that was if you had a level 99 paladin that you had played for years, they would still delete your level 99 paladin like that. Now, then there was even harsher ones, okay? So if you had a low-level character that had not been played for more than a certain number of hours, that character would get a check flag within a day. And if you didn't log in within a week after that character had been created, that character would get deleted like that. So you had to regularly log into your mule characters and play them for a little bit to keep them from getting deleted, just so that you could have a stash of items for the next character that you wanted to make. That is one feature that I'm going to tell you right now that I really hope they never bring into the Diablo 2 online remastered era. And I do really hope there's going to be a Diablo 2 online, because that is one of the most amazing things about Diablo 2 was it's online.
We have a shared stash?
we have a shared stash.
Yeah.
We have a shared stash.
Oh, thank God.
Now, the way that the shared stash works is there are rules, right? You can't have your ladder characters mixing a stash with a non-ladder character, and you can have your offline characters, can't use your online. But for the most part, we're people do this anyway with a mule character, so it's okay to give them this feature.
That is the greatest feature that you could add, because there's nothing worse than opening up the game, going in, dropping all your GG items to mule them over because you've run out of space, and then not being able to log back in, or the game's not created, or it didn't perm in time, and losing all of your gear, or trying to find someone to help you transfer your gear over. Because, oh my gosh, a shared stash is amazing. Thank you so much. That's such a help.
Like I said,
See, even he knows, because he's played just as much probably as I have, and maybe even more according to what he said. But I can't even guarantee that, because I've put in some serious hours on Diablo 2, more than I think I should ever admit, because it's unhealthy. But let me say again, shared stash, yes.
Maintaining the core was a thing, but the other aspect of it was to see where we can improve, right? So the shared...
Oh, look at those beautiful textures. That's a Templar armor. That's a breastplate. That's the Curios. So that's the Curios. That's the half. I think it's the half plate, and then the tower shield, and we got the quilted armor and the crown. freaking the dome skull cap, the bassinet. Man, I remember all these damn janks. Ooh, man, I want to play so bad. He got a whole bunch of full juvie potions. He's got the dang cube, man. He's ready. He got his runes. He's ready to make some jank. Look, he's got personal, shared 1, shared 2, shared 3.
Dash is one of them.
I want to play so bad right now.
Because we saw it as a very common concern, especially around muling, which people had workarounds anyway, right? So that is one thing. Another example is we are reimagining the UI in the game. With a new reimagined UI, we're still trying to stay very faithful to what you come to expect. So you'll still have the classic globes on the HUD screen, the skill icons, the potion belts, and all that. But we are reorganizing a little bit. We're trying to integrate the menu buttons and the stamina bars closer together within the HUD, so it's built a little bit cleaner. And naturally with reimagining a UI, we have some liberties to add a few things. So going back to the information I was talking about, a big thing we're doing on the character screen is we're adding an advanced stats screen as well. So we're going to be showing you all the information.
Oh my God, thank you, Jesus. Like, you guys don't even know. We had to guess. Like, back in the day, you had absolutely no clue what your dang stats did. You had to figure it out. So here's the most terrible thing about Diablo 2. And maybe it wasn't a terrible thing. Maybe it was a good thing. Because in the long run, it forced you to experiment and play. And a lot of those hours that I put into the game were about experimenting and playing and trying to figuring out the best ways to allocate your stats to make your character have the most damage that they possibly could have, or just enough strength so you could equip your equipment and then have like all the extra stuff put into energy or whatever it was that you needed. But you always had to guess. Like, you got very minimal like information from the actual like panel. So the advanced stats, I'm so interested.
You get from items as well.
Yes, look at that. Regenerate mana, health, healing, stamina plus, magic damage reduced, 3% life stolen, mana steal, replenished life. Yes. Look at all this. 70% faster cast rate, half freeze duration, cannot be frozen. You don't need half freeze duration and cannot be frozen, sir. Okay, you don't need both of those at the same time, sir.
Also, you don't have to do that kind of math with like looking at each of your items and calculating how much magic find you have, for example. It'll all be like summarized right there for you.
Something that we've seen already in a lot of mods where they've gone ahead and taken that information and created a little screen. So that's really nice to see that you guys are implementing that as well. Because yeah, I don't think anybody like sitting down and counting up the magic find of every specific item, and all of their charms and all of everything to figure out what is the number, how much do I have.
We've also added auto gold, so you can opt in. It is a feature you can turn off, which is one of the things we have to be careful of. A handful of other things where we're like, if you want this, you can turn it on, but you can also keep it off. This was actually something that we started looking into when we were adding controller support. There's a lot of paths that we could have taken with controller support, obviously for controllers on console, which we're coming out on, but allowing just plug a controller in for accessibility reasons. For that might be the way you want to play, but it's a PC first experience. Like, for example, there's still an inventory grid, there's still inventory Tetris. That's core to what Diablo 2 is, right? Taking that away, it starts to become something different.
And I love that. I think that's the perfect way to really introduce it, because you're going to have that split in the community. You're going to have half the people who say, just give me auto gold. It's 2020. I don't want to worry about having to pick up every individual gold stack. But then you're going to have the opposite side of purists who go, don't touch this. Like, that completely changes my game experience. And, if I'm speedrunning through the game or playing through whatever, I want to be able to go over and pick up the gold stacks and take that time. And that's more a part of the Diablo 2 experience for me. I want to jump back to features in a second. But before we do, you just brought up console play, and I feel like we have to jump into console, the decision for console, and how you're gonna make that work. You already talked a little bit about like auto gold, having that to be a little more accessible. But when I think of Diablo 2, I think of a mouse going and clicking everywhere and how does this work on a console?
To say it wasn't a challenge would be a bold lie. So there's a couple things. For the most part, the game thinks you're still using a keyboard and mouse with a controller. That was almost a rule we kept,
So it's like an emulator. So the system is emulating the keyboard onto the controller. I've played a couple games like that, most notably Raft. My girlfriend, she really didn't want to play with keyboard and mouse, and I figured out a way to assign the buttons to the controller in a way that made them usable. So that seems to be what they're doing.
That helped keep us on the rails, because we didn't want to be sacrificing, once again, that authentic experience, but we did want to make it more accessible, bring it to a modern audience. I mean, there are people who were born after this game came out that we want them to enjoy it and play it. And a lot of those people are used to, just more modern titles that could use a controller. Also, from an accessibility of just allowing you to plug in a controller, helps for many other people to get to enjoy the game.
I'm actually pretty excited that it's going to be on consoles, both because, I would really like to play it on my Nintendo Switch. Maybe when I'm at work on my lunch break, or in the car, or maybe when I'm waiting at the doctor's office or something. I could be slaying some demons, killing some undead, I'm leveling up my paladin. But I think it's really cool. It's going to be available for more people to play than just those who were the original crew. You know what I mean? Because if you played it on PC like I did back in the day, you were on like some old Hewlett-Packard system that barely even could play it, and you kept upgrading your system here and there, and it got laggy, and especially when you had all your necromancer minions on the screen or whatever. But you'd go to talk about the game with your friends, and if your friends didn't have a PC, they had absolutely no clue what you were talking about. And I think maybe this will bring Diablo 2 to a wider audience, and I really like that. I really, really, really do.
Biggest thing I think that we are, the two big things we'll say. One is you're changing the way you play the game from being kind of an eye in the sky and telling your hero what to do by clicking on areas to actually being your character and directing them. So pathfinding is gone, right? Because you're doing the pathfinding and things like that, which creates some very interesting things. For example, the sorceress's teleport is meant to teleport to wherever you click. So in that area, when you're playing on the console, we will have a kind of a default distance that you will teleport to. Whereas on the PC, you can click wherever you want. Same with Barbarian's Leap, although that one's interesting because it levels. But it's become a very, very fun challenge. Like, I'm a necromancer and I need to target an item on the ground that has a certain keyword. It's working so far, but you guys will be the ultimate judge of that.
Yeah, we've had a lot of talks
Use them
back
teeth.
and forth, play testing and things like that. A big challenge we had too was categorizing, all those 300 character skills, to see how each of them really play, to see what challenges there were. And yeah, like Rob mentions, the Necromancer Iron Golem is a favorite of ours to continuously talk about because of the various ways it can target. Also, like a Sorcerer's Telekinesis is another example.
Watching the trailer, we see the assassin and druid at the campfire. We see a druid casting tornado. I have to ask though, even still, this includes Lord of Destruction, right? This is going to be a full encompassing remaster and not just classic or just a piece?
That's correct. Yeah, we are going to be including both the base Diablo 2 and the expansion Lord of Destruction as well. And we're even keeping the mode of playing non-expansion character as well, right? So you could still play a classic barbarian, for example, and things like that.
Okay, awesome. Because that was something I was also going to ask was, will there be classic mode? Because once again, when you go to the purist, you always have the people that go back all the way and they're like, classic is pure and that's it, and I won't play anything else.
Yeah, it was very much a mode we wanted to keep. Even based on popularity, it might not be as much, but it's still a part of the game, and it still leads to interesting ways of playing too, right? A lot of it's even data driven too, so like a lot of the reasons to keep it were pretty clear to us. Like, let's make sure we're not taking something away from this remaster.
I'd love to go ahead and start talking about some of the other features, or continue talking about some of the other features that you had mentioned before, because hearing each of these already has gotten me so excited for this game. And so what are some other little things that you felt could be changed, wouldn't change the whole flow of the game, but just improve it a little bit.
One thing we're looking into is making it easier to interact with your stash. So having quick keys to move to your stash is one thing versus like dragging the mouse to every time you want to move something to your stash. Other things we're looking at.
Oh, so like Minecraft, when you like hold shift and click, it just goes to your stash quickly. Oh man, how did I do that?
Tornado.
Play a classic barbarian, for example. Ways of playing too, right? A lot of it's even data driven too. So like a lot of the reasons.
Game, but just improve it a little bit.
One thing we're looking into is making it easier to interact with your stash. So having quick keys to move to your stash is one thing versus like dragging the mouse to every time you want to move something to your stash. Other things we're looking at as well are like an item comparison tooltip. So in case you're looking at some other item, you can hold shift or whatever controller button is mapped. And
Look at how sweet everything looks, though. Like, can you like even like the dumbass little buckler and like the little dagger you get at the beginning of the game look awesome.
And then you can see what equipped items you have just for quick glances, things like that.
The item comparison is a great example of us adding it, but added it with a measured hand. So we don't suggest any gear for anybody. The gear in Diablo 2 is so quirky and different, and
Look here, Mark, sir. I probably will still drag it. Okay, shut up.
every class can use everything. That us recommending things like that actually was more confusing to people. So you hold shift and it's like, here's what you got equipped, here's what it is.
I think that's the great way to do it with Diablo 2, because I agree. I mean, I think that's one of the best parts about Diablo 2. The items are so fantastic, so unique in their own design, that it would be near impossible to have a tooltip that could actually recommend one or the other, you know, because it's all so unique to every situation.
Well, you just hopped in, Mark, but so what they were saying is that the original game is still running underneath like a so like the original game is like a skeleton, and they took the new game and they like put it over top of the skeleton like a skin. So the new game is literally just running on top of the old game, using the old game as a, you know, a what do you call it? A like an engine. Like it's literally not even really a new game. It's really just the old game hiding underneath of a new game.
Situation and character and skill build and everything.
We added 5 more languages, so that's a feature to a lot of people who speak those other languages. The whole front end is pretty much modernized now, so your character is much bigger front and center right in the beginning, and you'll have a backdrop of whatever act you're in.
Ooh, look at that. I love it. Now, kind of, yeah, like World of Tank replays have like all the data underneath. But see, World of Tank replays are more or less like an input thing. So like it records all of the inputs from all of the players into a file, and then it replays those inputs in the file with timestamps and everything. So everything is going according to how the inputs, you know, behaved. But this Diablo 2 Resurrected is actually the original game still running in the background, as if the original game was still there, and the new game is using the original game as a starting point for everything that it needs. So apparently the original game ran in 25 frames per second. And apparently everything about the original game, like the hit recovery, the way your spells worked, all of it, like was tied to this 25 frames per second. So the new game is using everything from the old game, but then it's allowing you to have 60 frames per second on top of that. So it's an amazing achievement, honestly. It's like I can't even explain it other than like a big monster like latched onto the game and is like sucking all the information out of it, and then it's like re-extrapolating it for you to see into a new fancy form. But look at this screen, though. Local mode, settings, cinematics, credits, friends list. I hope there's an online Battlenet. There's got to be an online Battlenet.
That's all been streamlined. You can still, play online or offline, but that flow has been improved.
So what are your favorite changes that each of you have within the game so far?
There's a lot of fun. It's fun to see a lot of the art come to life with our new visuals. So for me, one of the things I've been waiting for since like first starting on this game was to see that character creation campfire scene come to life in our new arts, and I'm really happy to see how far
Look, Mark, look at the druid. He's all like mountain man, like got the beard and the long hair. Look at him.
it's progressed, and I love seeing that. It's just such an iconic moment. It's the first thing you really see in the game before you get started, and it's amazing.
Can I say all the art? No, I'm just kidding. So we added, like Rob mentioned, we added like an act-specific screen in the front end, and it's basically this large screen where we have like a diorama of each act, and it's amazing to see because it feels like you're really there. Like you can see the detail, you can see every.
Wow, look at the character. Man.
Aspect of the scene, and like it just has that very immersive feeling to it. So that's probably my favorite part.
I think mine is a little bit more squishy. I think our game has gotten a little scarier. I think that there are certain areas in the game where just the way that the 3D lighting is and the way the sound is, and I play it on a big screen TV sometimes, and just it feels scarier, it feels creepier, a little more claustrophobic in certain areas. That's not just one feature, there's a lot of things going on there, but I think it's really cool. I would like to hope that had the original creators had the tools we have today, it's the experience they would have wanted to make.
Yeah, I think the lighting really helps with that too, because we're a 3D game. That's one of the biggest differences between the original games. So what the game had before with the sprites, with 3D models built into sprites, was not a true real-time lighting system. So because we're pushing that with a 3D graphics engine running on top of the game and getting actual 3D lighting inside of those kinds of caverns and corridors, makes for a very interesting experience now, because it just feels more immersive with having light react around you like that.
Yeah, I would definitely say, I mean, I've only seen the trailer piece you sent me, but even from that, just seeing like down in the tunnels or the sewers or any of those like you said, cavern dungeonous zones, the lighting, it was darker and brighter, and then things like the skeletons with the fire, but it just had like this different, I agree, creepier feel. So I haven't seen much more than, or anything more than you guys showed me, but there was definitely a different feel to the game, and I loved the fire the most. I think just watching like the sorceress meteor was like gorgeous.
Fire and lightning, once we got all the effects up and running, that was definitely a couple of times where we would be just in a review and we're like, oh, like, and 10 minutes would go by and we're like.
So Mark said this side by side, the difference is insane. My memory of Diablo 2 is a bit higher graphically. And that's really the thing about the old D2 is the graphics were awful. Like they really were. They were sprite based. They weren't even really like graphics. They were just sprites. And I remember going back and trying to improve it, like getting the graphics up a little bit. But I remember originally it ran in 640 by 480. That's horrible. And like I think the highest you could ever get it was like 800 by 600. And then like later on, some people came out with some patches and stuff which would let you have it in a higher resolution, but it didn't really improve the graphics any.
Like, oh crap, we had a meeting, we were just playing now. Another thing that kind of goes without saying, that just because it's parody, but 8-player multiplayer, that just works. But once again, it was tricky to get that going.
So with multiplayer, are there going to be any changes, any differences in there from PvP to trading to how players interact, units blocking each other? I mean, all sorts of stuff.
So with multiplayer, we want to keep all the features you've known and loved there. So PvP will still be there, down to like opening the party window and engaging hostility. Trading is still going to function the same as you know. You can go into games, trade items, or talk in chat channels and things like that. Areas of improvement, though, like I said, going back to my mentioning of reimagining a lot of the UI, improvements to the Battlenet lobby. So we're trying to look at some things like improving, like.
He said Battlenet. So I don't know if you guys know this, but there were two online versions of Diablo 2. There was the online version, and then there was the Battlenet online version. And so with the online version, your character was stored on your computer, and you could basically play any character that you had leveled up in single player online with other people. But the problem with this was that it was so very easy to edit your character and cheat the absolute crap out of him that it made online play with the single player characters insane, because you'd go into a game and somebody would have their character leveled to 99 with 99 all skills, and they would like literally drop items that you would pick up and literally would crash your game because they were cheated items. And Battlenet, the Battlenet version, your characters were stored on the Battlenet server, and it was far more difficult to cheat on the Battlenet server than it was on the single player online. And so Battlenet was where people liked to play, because that was where you could play with other people with relative certainty that you weren't getting cheated most of the time. Although there were people who figured out ways to dupe items or exploit things, and there were like waving bans and stuff on Battlenet, but it was much more fun to play on Battlenet than it was on the online cheaty net.
Like how you browse server games. Like, so when you're looking at a game to join and typing passwords and things like that, that's the kind of area we're trying to see how we could smooth out in ways like making sure you can browse normal games, Nightmare games, and Hell games, even though you've graduated to the higher difficulty. I'm sure you've known that.
There's nothing worse than accidentally killing Bale in Nightmare when you're trying to do Nightmare Bale runs and you're like, I can't find any of the games anymore for Nightmare Bale runs.
But you can if you log into a separate character.
Right, you go to a separate character and then look at it.
That was kind of our logic, right? We saw, since there are workarounds there, that made it easier for us to make the decision of allowing some of those things. Another change is also looking into reducing ladder seasons overall. So right now, ladder seasons in Diablo 2 are 6 months, and we're looking at reducing that as well to help have more engagement and kind of drive more incentives too. 6 months is a long time, and we're looking into like if we make it shorter, we could probably have greater beats throughout the year, as well as seeing people strive harder for getting like that to that level 99, right?
So they're talking about an active online Battlenet presence as if it was a brand new game, and I'm super excited about that. That means that they're going to treat this as if it is a real brand new game, and they're going to have an online presence. They're going to have online ladders. The ladder system was really cool. So if you guys didn't know this, basically you made a character at the beginning of the ladder, and everybody raced to get to level 99 as fast as humanly possible. And if you got to level 99 first, you were essentially at the top of the ladder. There were hardcore ladders too, and you could die, but for some reason you would still hold your place on the ladder. It was really cool.
So is there going to be any reward change on that, or will it just simply be the same standard? You get to 99, you're 99 on that leaderboard, and I mean that's a giant reward in itself, but I don't know if there's any other piece go up on the Battlenet website or something.
We're not looking into adding anything beyond what the game really did, but in some ways there will be some things that kind of come out of because of what we changed. So we have the ladder, the leaderboard, right, where you can see each class going to level 99. There are easier ways to filter through that. And we're also looking into saving that, right? So you can always look back to previous seasons as well. So in a way, we're creating that kind of legacy now that has kind of been dropped from the past. So that's one advantage, is your names could be there in the legacy if you're looking in the past.
I mean, I think that would be cool enough. Just anything to keep it there as like forever. Like this was season 1, season 2, like that's when I got my 99. Because I know a lot of people like to go and reflect kind of on their old characters and pushes and stuff like that.
Character expiration will not be a thing anymore, by the way.
Ooh.
Yes! Character expiration will not be a thing anymore.
Due to modern Battlenet integrations, you will not have to worry about refreshing your character, so they will stay with you.
Awesome.
Dude, I was just talking about that, wasn't I? Literally, my characters all got deleted. You little bastards. And now they're gonna be fine, so I won't have to worry about it. That's gonna be great. That was actually one of the reasons I didn't want to play on Battlenet anymore, was because I didn't have the time to go in there and refresh my characters to make sure they didn't get deleted.
Will there be anything different with like character names then, if that's the case?
Oh, yeah. So this was one that we talked about for a very, very long time. So because we are moving to global servers and we have cross progression, we will allow duplicate names because with everyone being in the same thing across all consoles and all platforms and other things like that, you would very quickly bump into duplicates like day one. And so we are allowing duplicate names. However, they will also be appended with your gamer tag or your Battlenet ID or other things like that, so that you are still unique. But this also allows us for people to play the game quicker, because we can autofill in your name, other things like that.
Rob touched on it a little bit, but another mention there was going to global servers as well. So this is a new thing we're doing, where the concept of US West, US East, Asia regions, and EU are no longer going to be a thing in terms of like being on separated servers. So now, for the push for a global play with Diablo 2, you can now be able to join across people around the world.
I think that's a fantastic change. That's always been one of the like saddest parts, is like they're on EU and I'm on, US East, and then my other friend's on US West, and it's like, how do we get us all together? Like, okay, somebody has to make a sacrifice there. And so that seems like a really positive change. So far, you guys are killing it. I'm loving it.
Yeah, that was always kind of sad, because you'd have friends and then you couldn't play together because you were on different servers. That's actually a really good change. And not only does it a good change because your friends are going to be able to play together, but also because it's going to increase the player base exponentially by combining all the player bases together. You're going to have a rather large player base, and you're never going to be wanting for people to play with.
And absolutely. I just want to say, like, I'm loving all of the changes and all of the decisions that have been made. It feels like you're really respecting the integrity of the game, but really bringing in a lot of that quality of life, because Diablo 2 just had some of those pain points like muling and separate servers and all of that. So I just want to throw that out there really quick.
There's a lot of love and care going on into this. Like we're very passionate about Diablo 2. I can even give you a little anecdote of when I started on the team. I was asking around too. Naturally, as a designer, I want to know as much as possible about this game in order to make good decisions on a remaster. So I asked around, like, what kind of files and leftover archives do we have from before, from Blizzard North? And I was told, like, I was given some, and I was told that was it, which I quickly disbelieved, because I like to just do my own little digging arounds to find out things. So I dug around a lot in a lot of archives, and I looked around in different teams as well, because naturally a game from 20 years ago, people have moved on different teams, and like, where has data moved around across our other games across Blizzard. So it was within folders, I like to say, that I found a lot of old source files from Diablo 2. A lot of things, like, within folders of saying stuff we should archive. And there was a lot of stuff to archive indeed, because there were a lot of things, like, we're talking like model source files, old tools that Blizzard North used to create, like the sprites and things like that. All these things I spent months and months organizing and communicate that out to the team, and help getting Blizzard library team and other people to help out too, to help share as much information as possible, which helps a lot with when we're adapting some of these models and whatnot and making new art out of it, because sometimes those pixels aren't good enough, and if we have some kind of source model to look at, if we have it, now we can make even closer decisions.
On that day when he found that, I think that really helped me greatly. Like, we sent all of that imagery, even the models, I think we sent over to the outsource teams and different art teams, which they used as like a stepping stone. The only piece of art we actually reused one-to-one were Tyrael's wings. So we actually took the Tyrael wings from the old Max file, and then just repurpose that for hours. Like we did very little work, very little modernization of that. We just made it work. But yeah, we did follow a lot of the rules that the old game actually used. For like another example is the succubus, in which I think the old Blizzard North model, they reused the assassin mesh for the body, and we did the same thing. We use our assassin mesh for the succubus.
Yeah, a lot of fun discoveries that we're actually kind of making the same decisions on in interesting ways. Another example too, like, is because we found a lot of stuff. There's a lot of old texture files for some environments on the game. So another example is like the walls you see in the Act 2 tombs with those kinds of like paintings on them are the same textures we're using because we found the source files for those.
Any symbology we have questions on, we always like jump into that archive, try to find some kind of source or reference or something, and we just reuse it as much as possible. We want this to be as true as possible.
That could even carry over to the cinematics too, you know, like a lot of the cinematics cover the same locations. Think of like Tal Rasha's tomb with Baal in front of it, and there's all those runes going on behind him. Finding sources like that to try to match as much as possible was a goal, and I'm glad to say we did find those kinds of things and are matching it very well. So it's helping our cinematics too.
There was even concepts we repurposed. Like we found a couple concepts that were amazing from 20 years ago. The Bloodhawk and the Bloodhawk nest, and we used that completely to rebuild our new asset.
I mean, that's fascinating. I feel like I could just sit here for hours and hours, days, as you guys
Hours and hours and hours and hours and days.
talk through every single thing you found in the source files.
I could too. I'm still organizing it to this day. I still could find something that could work out. Because I put it, I'm very meticulous with this stuff because I love it so much. You know, I'm putting like categorizing everything. Like this is everything I found on War Eve. This is everything I found on the Greater Mummy Monster or Baal or something. And then if Chris comes to me and needs help with like some kind of way of identifying what parts of the creatures are or something, I even go through lengths of like seeing if I could open up those models. And actually re-rendering them out in a way that we could actually see it in higher detail and see the Greater Mummy is showing like part of his bone on his knee, so we should try to match that or something like that. And there's a lot of interesting stories and references that we actually used to create the new art by re-rendering models out to see everything.
Yeah, it was literally like video game archaeology, and even
Video game archaeology.
learning how parts of D1 were made, parts of the code that were commented out. Totally geek out on just all of the, because it's a game that we all kind of grew up in, and a lot of us got into the games industry because of these types of games, and this game in particular, right? And so it's almost like we're treating it like a classic car, right? Like, okay, it probably shouldn't run on leaded gas anymore, but you really can't change it, right? You just got to make it, good enough, even better, than they remember, and good for another 20 years.
Yeah, and even mention of Diablo 1 is very key too. Like we look at Diablo 1 as well, because naturally this being a sequel to Diablo 1, especially within the time span of when it came, like Diablo 1, was 1996 and Diablo 2, 2000. A lot of things carried over throughout development. So going back to see Diablo 1 and what it's like also helped us make decisions, even some of the arts too, because we discovered certain things we didn't even realize before until later down the line. Like an example is in the Chaos Sanctuary, you see a lot of statues with these black knights, and those are actually the same Chaos Knights you see in Diablo 1. So sometimes some of the things I find, even source files from Diablo 1, were useful for us for reference, so we can make the new statues and things like that.
Even the Sorcerer and the Act 3 Hireling shared very similar models. Like it was just an addition helmet or a little bit of detail on the chest, but that was really the difference.
You guys need to do a developer archaeology discussion at some point where you just sit down and talk through all of this, because this is the most fascinating stuff I've heard. I mean, I've played so much Diablo 2 that I know so many intricacies of the game, but when there's more to be discovered, it's oh man, I'm itching to know. So I would love to just listen.
The funny thing is, going back to our core philosophies on the game, we wanted to keep discovery and the mystery and stuff. Because you keep discovering things all the time when you play Diablo 2, all these little hidden rules and informations. It kind of carries that fascination over through development as well. We find a lot of things in the code, design documents, models, things like that, that were really fascinating to see like how they were made. And yeah, I learned something new every day on the projects.
One thing, shifting back to the online play here, I know there's definitely going to be questions around security. How are we handling duping? How are we handling bots? How are we handling, just anything around that, realm downs, and all of the disconnects and all of that good stuff that we deal with online? What's being taken?
The man is asking the real questions, because all that stuff is very serious. Because if we want to have an online Battlenet fun time, we need one that's not so exploitable.
Or what actions being taken there?
So moving over to modern Battlenet helps us with a lot of those types of things. To say it's, Loctite, I wouldn't dare do that. That's like throwing a gauntlet down to the community to try to break it. But all of that should be far more secure now. Now, we do still allow you to play offline, right? You will need to authenticate that your copy is legit, but after that, you won't be bothered. And so there's a reason why we leave those characters quarantined away from online.
I mean, yeah, we have a server team working on it, and these are some of their efforts, right? We want to stop the bots, stop duping as much as possible. There's a lot of strives happening in the back end of things.
So I'm excited to play this game, and I'm sure a lot of other people are very excited. How can we sign up for this closed beta, and when will this game be coming out?
Actually, we will be doing a technical alpha, and you can sign up on our webpage today for future waves of invites. As for the game itself, it will be
Technical alpha, you say? Technical alpha, you say? You guys are learning my birthday today. You ready? Here you go. That's my birthday. Send me presents. Security check. Okay. No. Y'all are making me do too much here. I'm on the live stream. Thank you. We've recorded your opt-in to Diablo II Resurrected Alpha. Oh, we get to pre-purchase it too? A timeless classic. Remastered graphics, monsters, heroes, items, spells, all resurrected. Classic gameplay, the same gameplay you loved, plan for support across progression, an epic story told through 5 distinct acts, updated Battlenet support, and much more. Look at that side by side. Side by side. Little side by side, side by side. Wow, they made it look so much better. Kill him. Smash him. Smash him dead. He still falls apart. Love it. Look at it. So there's Amazon. We got Assassin, Necromancer, Barbarian, Paladin, Sorceress, and a Druid. Yes. All right. Oh, not wrong one.
releasing 2021.
Well, I just want to say thank you to the remastering team right here. I absolutely am blown away by how much effort and how much passion you guys are putting into this game and just into Diablo 2. I've loved Diablo 2 for 20 years, and
put link in chat. Y'all can't be that lazy now. Come on. Come on. Okay, in chat we go.
Team right here. I absolutely
Where's my chat link? Where's my chat thing? Oh, there it is. Linked it in chat. There you go.
I never thought that the game could get better, but I think you guys are respecting the integrity while upgrading and adding and improving, and I think this is going to overall just better the game. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate you having me on and for all of the hard work you've done.
Awesome, thank you. I mean, your praise means the world to us. I mean, you and people like you who keep the game going for 20 years. Like, that's, if you guys didn't do that, this might not be happening, right? We see the passion in what you do, in what your colleagues do. Like, so thank you even more. And thanks for coming to do this. This was fun.
Dickle.
Death can save you from me.
That's right. Not even death can save you from me. Man, I've never been this excited about garlic before. I want to cry. I can't believe this is actually happening. I got my first PC in Diablo Battle Chest on my 10th birthday. I'm 29 now, and I still play D2 every day. This must be a dream. Somewhere out there right now, David Brevik, smiling contentedly and feeling vindicated. Imagine creating a game over 20 years ago that would become the most anticipated game of 2021. Dear Diablo community, once this game comes out, can the Warcraft community have these guys to remake Warcraft 3? Oh my god, beautiful dynamic lighting. With cinematic graphics and dark art style true to the original, this is what we always wanted, Blizzard. Vicarious Visions, Developer of the Year. So, when does the technical alpha begin? When? Diablo 2 Primeval Collection. Don't I already have Primeval? Diablo 3 Eternal Collection is available upon purchase of the Diablo Primeval Collection. Diablo 3 Eternal Collection system. What? 2 games in 1. I'm confused. I'm confused. What is the Primeval Collection? I must know. Battle chest. What is the Diablo Primeval Collection? Question, what is the Primeval Collection? There's nothing for me to click on that says what it is at all. But I have a slightly cheaper upgrade option. I'm super confused too. Am I even upgrading? D2 Resurrected and D3 Eternal Collection. It says it just passed the buy button now. I don't understand still. Look at this. We got a whole website. Got a news article on here. Oh, here we go. So Diablo 2 Resurrected for $39.99. The Primeval Collection for $50.99. A bundle including Diablo 2 Resurrected, Diablo 3, Reaper of Souls, The Rise of the Necromancer, Mephisto Pet, and Hatred Crafts Cosmetic Wings for Diablo 3. Primeval Collection upgrade, the same Primeval Collection bundle minus the cost of an already owned content. This price will vary upon what you already own. I'm pretty sure I already own most of that stuff anyway. Let's see what it says when I click the buy now button. Taking care of business every day. Taking care of business. No, you guys can see my order number. So, here's what I was thinking. And you guys are probably going to laugh at me, but I'm pretty sure I have this game installed. Or at least I'm pretty sure I do. Where is my loadie? I was playing it the other day. Where's my everything searcher? I really don't have Diablo installed anymore. Seems very unlikely. I'm pretty sure I was playing it not too long ago. Well, that's sad. Alright, guys and gals. Well, it has been a lot of fun, and you know what? I may follow this up with a Diablo 2 live stream, because that's how excited I am for Diablo 2 Resurrected.